Hey YouTube, Matt here again, and we're gonna do a little video here on some wiring and how I wire stuff up, what I use, and just a few little tips, I guess. But show you what I have to do my wiring on. I work on the heavy equipment and trucks, so this is how it's how I do it at work, and my opinion on the best butt splice to do, basically, because there's all kinds of different connectors, anything from regular butt connectors with protection on them. I don't call this insulation. I guess it's insulation, but it's not the heat shrink. This is just insulation. You'd have to add heat shrink to this if you want it to be weatherproof. You've got the butt connectors from take two different sizes. There's a large end and a small end. I've got these in different sizes, but these have the heat shrink on them. You crimp them and then you just heat them and shrink them. Heat shrink built into them. These are different sizes. These are just a straight, like a 14-16 wire connector here. Use those a lot at work, and mainly because they're quick and easy, and they do last pretty long time for what they are. And of course you've got your ring terminals, your spades, and the almighty Scotch lock that should never be used and should have never been invented. That's a terrible idea. Throw every one of these things away. Let's get started. I'll start here with the crimpers, show you what I got. This is all this stuff pretty much was in my toolbox tours, but this will be a little closer look at them. This is my Tool Aid crimper set, and this is strictly crimping. These don't cut, these don't do anything else. 18920 from Tool Aid. They've got the different dies for weather pack, and there's two different ones for insulated, non-insulated, and I believe there's one for quick disconnect terminals with thinner wire. So all your different dies there. We're just going to use the one today for butt splices. Brought some 14 gauge wire. I have the cutters and crimpers from Snap-on Blue Point. They are 29CP from Blue Point. You'll find this interesting. This is channel lock. No, there's no name on these because they're seconds. I had an SK dealer one time that dealt in pretty much anything, and these are $5 off of the tool truck. Same exact thing. I like them both. Of course, comfort grips are awesome, and these stay at work, these stay at home, but they're the exact same thing. They got the same crimpers on them, same design, same cutters. If you did, you'd have to look really close to find the second part of that. I have those. Those work identical. I'll probably just use one today. I've got my, I can't remember the name of these. It's rubbed off. I've used them so much over the years. These are cutter stripper crimpers. They work okay. They're not the greatest for stripping wire. They do have the numbers on there for the sizes, and crimpers up here. The crimpers are pretty bad. You'd have to go for 14-16, which should be the blue. You'd have to use it in the red to get a decent crimp on it. They're just not that great. They're just a cheap pair. And then I have the Snap-on PWCS9 stripper, crimper, and cutters. And these cutters are super sharp. They got the lock on them here, so you can lock them so they don't open. But the cutters here, the strippers, they're extremely sharp. And a pair of pliers on the end. These are nice. These are super nice. I like them. I don't use them all the time, but on fine wires, small wires, these are the ticket. They're pretty decent in tight quarters. What I usually use for stripping, because of what I'm dealing with isn't that critical unless I'm dealing with engine work. Engine work ECM wires, stuff like that. I use these, but I'll use these in tight quarters. I just pull the end of the wire off. I'll show them. I've got these are Blue Point PWC 228, I believe, 22B. PWC 22B. Use those a little bit. I don't use those as much as I used to. I had a Snap-on pair when they changed them to Blue Point. I wore the other ones out. I have these from Tool Aid. I hear mixed reviews on these, but these have never let me down. These are awesome. I love them. I use these every day. These are the go-tos for me. And then we've got the butane torch. I use that for heat shrink and soldering. And I have this Snap-on butane soldering iron, and I use that for soldering. You can see the red glow there. Yeah, and then it'll go away. That's extremely nice for fine wiring jobs. It's got the heat shrink shrinker on it too. It's an attachment. It just mainly works on little stuff though, and it takes a while. It's kind of slow for that, so I'll use a torch a lot more. You got to be careful with the torch; you don't burn your insulation off your wires. That's all. So we're going to show you a little bit here of snip a piece of wire off. Let's try these first. We're going to strip the wires with these. And we're looking at 14. And you just got to pull pretty good on them. They're not the greatest, but it does the job. They strip it off there. Let's go ahead and do a crimp with the crimpers over here. These crimpers, what they're designed to do, get another piece of wire. Let's strip this one with these. That's a 14. Wrong one first. The wrong one first. Screwed myself up. What these are designed to do is crimp all at once, both at the same time. And it ain't easy. You stick it in there, right in the center. And you do both sides at once. All the way, and they release. And you've got your crimp. And then you just take your torch and you stay away from it, but it shrinks right down. And when you're doing this to make it last, these usually have a little bit of like a grease built into the heat shrink, but it's a good idea. Stick a little bit of dielectric grease into your connector and then shove your wires in. This is just demonstration purposes basically for the tools. So that's going to be that tool there. That's how that's going to work on butt connectors. Now for ring terminals or something, you just would keep it to the one side and crimp it down on the one end of it. Same action though. They work pretty good. They really do work pretty good. I'm just spoiled with the quickness of the others. So I use this tool mainly for building weather pack plugs on automotive. There's a lot of weather pack out there, so I use that for that. Deutz connectors, I don't have any crimpers for them. Those are at work. I provide those. What we got here? Let's do another one here. Use these crimpers. few more wires here. And we'll just use these. Let's strip it with these, see what happens. The thing I like about these is tight quarters. This is such a narrow nose. You get that up into a dash or something. It's taking it off. They're nice. I guess we only need one wire. We don't even need a butt connector. Let's use this. Let's use this ring terminal. And maybe. Well, it's fighting so bad. And we'll use this. And there you go. Done. That's why I like those. It's super fast, super easy. The comfort grip is nice when you're doing that because you're really squeezing hard, really giving it the beans. So let's do another. This has got this little wire gauge thing here too to gauge your depth, how far you want to strip. The wire goes against it. It's alright, works okay. But the strippers work awesome. Alright, let's put this on this end. Up in there, let's use these ones this time. And just give it a squeeze. Done. Now, you know, that's not weatherproof. You'd have to heat shrink that. This has got the heat shrink on it. Same deal there. Okay. Let's do another one. Let's just grab one of these. These are non-insulated. Give a crimp on this with these. And just give it a squeeze. There you go. Good as gold. Do that. These, I don't think I represented them very good on the stripping part. But down here, what I like to do is hit it once with a one size smaller. So I'm doing 14 gauge, I hit it with the 16 gauge to get through the insulation, and then grab it with the 14 and pull it off. They work good that way. And the cutters on these, like I said, the cutters they're just butter. Nothing to it. So those are nice. The crimpers on these, like I said, here I'll show you. I don't know if I can pull it off or not. Let me get this. I'm on the blue. That's as far as I can squeeze it, and I can still pull the wire in and out. See, if I get on the red, I might be able to. I don't think I can. I can still see that's what I mean. These are about wore out unless you got into the center, and then you risk puncturing. So there, it's crimped, but I used the center of it there where it comes down and meets each other. I didn't actually crimp where it should have been crimped. So these are just okay. I brought these home and bought these because these were wearing out. Then they get me by here at home. So that's the way I wire in a nutshell. Basically at work, we're going to do this kind of butt connect. And it's already heat shrunk. You don't have to worry about it. You know, if you have to put loom around it or something to protect it from something else, you do that. But this is the kind of work we're going to do at work. It's going to be all sealed up, weatherproof. I don't know if you can tell, there's glue, or the protectant that melts out of the heat shrink is coming out around the wire. So that's a pretty good connection. And that's quick and easy. Now, the way I was taught to do it, it would be a butt splice solder. See, these things are awesome. There's two different ways that I was taught to solder, and I'm only going to show one, but I'm going to show you the gist of the first one. Take the two ends of wire and just leave them straight, and just push them together. Let them go together, and push the wires down, and they kind of go together flat. You got to have something that's going to hold them there, like that. And then you're basically just gonna solder that. So you solder that, and then you heat shrink over top of it. The other way to do it, that's probably the better way if you can keep it together. Put your wires side by side and give them a twist so they stay. Just so they stay together, and then solder that. I actually don't know which one of these would be easier, because that other one was staying together pretty good. Let me see if we can get this on camera. Try this. Try not to cause a fire, but we're going to try this. Put them out of the way. I usually use flux on older wire. You put a little bit of flux on there. And I'm just going to heat the wire up a little bit with the torch. And we'll do the other one, I think, too. And just heat the wire up. And you don't want to get the solder close to the flame, because it'll just melt out of there. Get the wire pretty warm. And just kind of let the wire melt the solder. And it'll take it right in there. And basically it just, you're doing a weld job is what you're doing on wires. But you want the wire to melt the solder, not the flame. There you go. And that might fall apart because I'm just kind of winging it here, but and it's going to be extremely hot. But that's the gist of it. Focus. And then, what I would do, it's pretty tight. I'm pulling on a little bit. I would bend that over. Alright. Piece of heat shrink. Put some dielectric grease in there if you like. Most of your heat shrink's going to have some sort of dielectric in it. And then just heat shrink up. Shrink it down. On the bigger heat shrink, like battery cables and that, I like to use a heat gun. I use an electric heat gun. I don't like using a propane torch. Never have. And there you go. That's probably the best way to wire. Keep the butt connectors out of it and solder the thing. And you can use a regular butt connector without any insulation on it, bare butt connector, solder that. That's about as good. But soldering is still, you're never going to beat it. I don't know if we can do this one or not. Fire this thing up, get it going. See, this is taking a minute to heat up. It heats up to the inside, and it'll heat the tip up red hot. And we'll try and get this piece here soldered. This takes a while for this. That's why I don't use it too much. On delicate wires, if you were wiring ECMs, if you were wiring anything in the dash, something small in the dash, you didn't want an open flame, this is the ticket. Let's let that heat up for a minute. Let it get nice and hot. But that's the basics of what I've got here and what I use at work to wire and what I use at home to wire, really. All different sizes, heat shrink, different ways of wiring. Most of the wiring right anymore, as far as using butt connectors and stuff like that, is going to be pretty good. I'll tell you, the key to soldering is getting the wire hot. You gotta get that wire really hot enough to melt the solder. And the thicker the solder, the hotter the wire's got to be. So that's where you end up in trouble too. Some of your insulation isn't good enough to handle the heat that you need for soldering. So, but I always like soldering this way. It just gives you some confidence in your connection. I don't know if we're going to be able to get this hot enough. And now you know why I use the torch to solder. It's quicker. In a dash or something, this is nice. It's not real practical sometimes. And my connection's falling apart. So I'm not gonna mess with that, but that's the gist of it. And the good thing about this is, see how this one's humped up? Because you bent the wire over. On this connection, you're not going to have that. So when you get it heat shrunk, it's nice and flat. It'd be nice and flat across there with you have a little divot where your heat shrink's going to shrink tighter in the center, but it's just, my little soldering iron is going to take too long to heat that up for this video. But that's what I do, guys. I hope you enjoy. I'm sorry it drug on a little bit. I'm sorry it took me so long to make this video. I've been trying to get it out for a week now. I got some more stuff coming up, and I hope you guys enjoy. And I'm just trying to get some stuff out there and help some people. And go ahead, and I encourage you to like it and subscribe if you're not subscribed. Give me a comment. Tell me what you think. Thanks. We'll catch you in the next video.